Okay, so next topic, music. So you posted some
Mm.
hot takes on music, which I was very fascinated by. So you said gay music used to be popular with gay men incidentally, secretly uncovered emotions of grandiosity and camp, and now every C minus woman to ever exist is doing gay music. No one likes it. Please stop immediately. And I asked you to explain. And you said, what was it? If I were to extrapolate, I would say that the Tibs of Lip Lock, libs of TikTok, is a thinly veiled moral panic attack. And if they had any sense of art or culture, they would realize straight women now exclusively pandering to gay men and stands through the use of unexciting 90s pastiche. Virtually all commercial pop music from the last 2 years is trying and failing to evoke ballroom culture. I'm not going to say the other word because it's going to get me canceled. Sipping tea, whereas Drake got it right with his performance of Machismo, his female contemporaries appear soulless and empty. I think it's dangerous. This is a very smoking hot take. There's a lot
Thank
to break
you.
down here. So let's.
Yeah. Where do I begin? Um, I don't quite know where this spiraled out of, like what corner of like the
Well,
music
you posted
industry.
a Megan the Stallion video
Oh
long
no, that yeah. But I
actually.
mean, this has been going on for
Yeah.
about a year and a half
Yeah.
now. And it was kind of cool, like
Mhm.
10 years ago when Azealia Banks was doing this, because she was doing ballroom music. Like she did like Fierce, like these old house beats, like 1994 and stuff. Like, I don't know, she had like a like a very strong ear for like the gay sensibility. And it was
Mhm.
kind of exciting to see someone do that in the contemporary medium of hip hop music. So that was fun. That was 10 years ago. And now it's been commercialized by everyone. And
Mhm.
despite the fact that I don't think anyone really likes it, like I don't really think anyone like truly loves the new Beyonce album. We have her doing like demonic Pazuzu possessing Jiggly Caliente, like doing a Vogue MC on the runway. Like it's insane. And none of them are like selling it like if you're gonna be like a Vogue MC, you have to really like know what you're doing. It's hard work. It takes a certain kind of tenor, and none of these girls have it. And they're like, God, like Beyonce on this one song, she goes, eat it, yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm like, that is not what this is about. Like, you're fucking up. And then it's like Megan the horse going like her. I'm like, it's so fucked up. I don't think anyone likes it, but gay stuff has always been cool on the out fringe and the most like, trendy, like furthest like strand of your friend group will like know about the ins and outs of it. But with like the presence of the internet, anyone can find out about voguing and watch Paris is Burning on Netflix now. So it's all on Drag Race as well. So basically anyone can just see what made gay art cool 40 years ago and then do it in their shitty music videos. And it all just smells like crap.
I have this thing where I don't listen to Beyonce albums until like much later because everyone's like,
Great
"Oh, did
idea.
you?" Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, did you listen to it?" And like I can't be one of the crowd, so I'm like, "No, of course I didn't listen to it." But
Hmm.
then in like 2 months I will, and then I'll have a hot take. But why do you think she went in this direction at this point in her career? Do you think she's just
Beyonce,
desperate? Yeah, like I think she's just desperate because she's done.
I
I
mean,
hate
she
to
is
say it.
done. No, she
Yeah,
killed her
like I look,
career
I've
with that.
always loved her. Like I naturally always loved her, but I think she's done.
I
She's has
mean,
nothing to
that
say.
that Lemonade album was, her Ophelia record. It should have ended with her like drowning in a lake, not literally, but artistically. Like she should have
Yeah,
drowned in a river surrounded by lilies or something. Like
yeah,
that would have been a fitting end to the career. But then she did that wretched collab album with her husband.
yeah.
It was just apocalyptic. And now she's like, I'm free. I'm liberated. I'm going to have a fun time after COVID. And, there's a million
Mhm.
think pieces about it being the most like innovative piece of like Black art, like synthesizing like all of this culture. And I'm like, oh my God,
Mhm.
it's her being, can I say slurs on this show?
Which one?
It rhymes with Haggett.
That one I don't care.
Okay, great. Well, it's
Racist
just her
ones is
being a
where I
fucking
draw the line.
faggot.
Yeah.
Oh, did you think I was gonna call her the N-word?
I just, yeah, because you never know.
No, I was gonna say she's being a faggot. Like she just
Yeah,
is like trying
that's
to fag
fine. It's
out.
accurate.
And it just
Yeah.
it's I
Hmm.
don't know if it's because she's desperate or just because somebody up in the music label circuit is very
Mhm.
mistaken in thinking that it's cool to do this on a big pop record. I don't know where it comes from. I wish I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my thing, look, like I grew up with her, Destiny's Children and Dangerously in Love, whatever. Um, I think she played too much into the whole like feminist girl power.
Yeah.
She didn't do it in an ironic way. It was too serious, too self-serious, and I think people lost interest in that after a while. And I always get in arguments with people when they compare her to Rihanna and say like, "Oh, Rihanna's better," and I'm like, you know what? Rihanna's not a talented person. She
No.
can't sing. Like, she's been mass produced. At least Beyonce is a singer and a dancer and has some original like thought, creative thought.
Rihanna is a great model.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
about
she has
it.
good producers. I think she has good
Hmm.
producers, but no, like, but there's something to say about the fact that people are more interested in Rihanna nowadays because, again, Rihanna doesn't have this sincere social whatever consciousness. She's like totally pagan, decadent, whatever. And
Hmm.
that, like, people just lose interest in this whole like social justice girl boss, whatever. Like, it got old. And it's too bad that Beyonce like wrote, like, made that the kind of crux of her career when she had so many other things going for her. So yeah, I mean, I think she and all her handlers know it's over. So they're like, well, what is the only way we can drop an album and make it relevant? Go into this classic queer kind of sound because those are the people who go crazy over her. But also there's this kind of social, the whole black historical kind of sound. People can comment on how she's making a black power statement. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
is,
exactly that. And
yeah.
the thing that is so funny to me about this is that this hasn't been cool to do this for 6 years because do you know who did this 6 years ago?
Ooh,
Katy Perry on Witness.
really?
Yeah, she has a
I
song
don't
called,
pay attention to her,
and
honestly.
that's all right. I mean, you should because she's a disaster. It's kind of fun to watch a tornado, but she has a song called Swish Swish.
Oh, okay.
It has the same Robin S sample that is on that fucking Beyonce song 6 years ago. Okay, like
Mhm.
obviously we don't need it if Katy Perry was doing it when she was flopping. Like, come
Yeah.
on, let's come up with something else. And when I say that, I don't want any more people to do like the Bjork, like I'm so sad. I'm wearing stripper heels and there's black stuff coming out of my mouth. Like, oh my God, art. We need to go somewhere new. And the only person who's doing anything interesting or new is Nakata Yasutaka, the Japanese producer behind Kyari
Mm,
Pamu Pamu and Perfume. Thank you.
interesting. So we gotta move over to Japan to find something innovative. Huh. But no, I want to ask you about the end of this tweet thread. Why
Mm.
did you mention Drake? What do you see in Drake?
Oh, well, Drake did this actually. I should have mentioned that Katy Perry was maybe the first to do it, but Drake did his album Scorpion is covered with faggot music. It's
Yeah,
all
it's in
over
the
the place.
house.
Big Frida. Like Beyonce put Big Frida in a way I found kind
Yeah,
of embarrassing and like sort of like
information.
she was like, oh my God, look at the world's biggest swine at like the freak show. Like when she put like Big Frida in the formation
Yeah,
video. I
yeah.
was like, it seemed very exploitive. But the way that Big Frida appears on that Drake Scorpion album, oh, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's like cool that like this is being juxtaposed with like surly masculinity and like, tragic male desire, which is what Drake is all
Mhm.
about. And when a straight woman who's extremely rich and out of touch and like hasn't eaten like hot sauce, as she likes to say, for like 15 years, when
Or
she
at
does it, I'm
Lost.
like, wow, what a fucking clown. Like you literally like you look like a drag queen now. But like when Drake does it, it seems like an interesting postmodern collage or
Yeah.
something.
Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting take. I have a few other artists I want to ask you about. You've posted about Nicki. What's the hot
Uh,
take on Nicki?
Nicki rules. And, she deliberately avoided the faggot music on the VMAs. When she did her career retrospective, she didn't do any of that gay shit. It was her doing her, classic Barbie tings, pink wig, dick ass, given whiplash. Like, oh my God, it felt so true to her. It felt idiosyncratic and individual. I think she is a real Amazonian artist, and Jack on the Perfume Nationalist always says this about her. She's like a true like Pauline figure, and that's correct. She has such character and is doing like these like swampy sex acts in a way that feels like truly like icky and sweaty and like vaginal when she does it, and I just don't get that from Beyonce.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in senior year and Beam Me Up Scotty mixtape came out, and I was the
Oh,
only person who knew about it.
uh-huh.
And then Super Bass came out, and then I was like, ah, I mean, I honestly, I did lose some interest after she went mainstream. But no, I mean, she's had a lot of good content
Well, the
even after
funny thing is
that.
that after she went mainstream, she went crazy again. And she did Roman Reloaded and then Roman Reloaded the Re-Up. And
Mhm.
those albums are bonkers. Like Roman Holiday, Come on a Cone. It's like these gastronomical like body sounds like turned up to 11 as she's like talking about ejaculating on like a fire hydrant and stuff. It's just wild.
Yeah. I've never like really taken the time to analyze the symbolism of all her stuff, but all I can say is I feel like there's something really interesting about her melding of a certain feminine and masculine energy because I mean, look,
Hmm.
like rapping is, I think, an inherently very masculine form of performance art, but this kind of body female sexuality, the body, and yeah, like she creates an interesting amalgam there. But yeah, I also think like the outlandish sexuality, the kind of fantastical imagination that she has. I don't know. I should go back into her catalog and really look more closely. But there's
Yeah,
there's so much depth there.
I
It's a lot.
recommend just going through all of Roman Reloaded. Just take an afternoon and go for a walk and listen to it, and you will be taken to, the pink world.
The pink world. Yeah, I get annoyed when people compare her to Cardi because I'm like,
Ugh,
there's nothing there.
there's nothing. Cardi B is music for straight people to. It's like it's like for them to feel their little Latinx fantasy when they like want to like get down to like it like that at the club and do a shot of tequila. And good for that. It's not Nicki though.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there.
No.
Do you have a hot take on Mariah?
I have an ex-boyfriend who loved Mariah. And whenever we were in his car, there was a Mariah CD in. It could be
Mhm.
July and the Mariah Christmas album would come on and no skips for him. Um, I like her as kind of like a glamorous Miss Piggy. I
Mhm.
like her faded stardom. I think she seems kind of amusing. I will say that her music has never really hit off with me, but I like I Am Mariah, The Elusive
You
Chanteuse, and
like that?
Caution. Yeah,
You do, really?
it's sad.
Interesting.
It's like
I don't
really
like either.
no, I think they're both really tragic. Like they're
Oh,
these like
but she can't
tombstone
sing anymore?
records. She can't sing. She's doing these songs like called Cry. It seems that she's like reconciling with the death of her career while she's like these like photoshopped hot dog limbs. And I find it to be very uncanny and Lynchian. So I like them for the shock
Interesting.
value.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I do wish she hung it up after Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel. That one I think is like she was like her voice was almost shot. She was doing a lot of the whisper kind of not yeah, like this very breathy vocals.
Yeah.
And I think she got the breast implants, which look ridiculous, but I
Oh, I
think
love them. Miss
I
Piggy.
I'm embarrassed for her. But do you think, I mean, I think she's LARPing as a drag queen. I think she's pretty
Oh my
close.
God, I don't even know. I think she's like gone past that. She's like getting
Yeah.
close to like Amanda Lepore, like honestly, like she's like really pushing it. That's why I'm like kind of interested whenever she does something new because I'm like, oh, what is this mess gonna do now? But yeah, I guess there is like a sort of drag quality to her, but I don't know. She's queenie and she has like
Mhm.
a like superiority, but the self-awareness is missing.
You think so?
Maybe. I haven't thought about her that much, to be honest.
Mm, I think she.
I can never
I
listen to her again after listening to her in that fucking car hours and hours at a time. Like
yeah.
I will always have to think of my ex-boyfriend, so she's off the radar.
Mm,
Boot.
I think she has a really particular understanding of camp, and I think she's conscious of it.
Did you read
Um,
her book?
I did. Yeah. I mean, my other, I mean, I have like conspiracy theories about her being like sacrificed by her mother to
Mm-hmm.
like demons, which I mean is definitely true.
Very Vox Lux.
Yeah. What I find very interesting is how polarizing she is. Like there are people who hate her
Yeah,
guts
they really do.
and people who will die for her. And then there are people who are like, "Oh yeah, I love Mariah," but
They
but
don't
I
really.
think it's fascinating the two poles because there are people who really hate her.
I will
And
say I think Music Box is like kind of experimental and interesting.
really, I hate Music Box.
What? I
I
think that's
think
my
it's like a rice
favorite.
cracker. Why?
I don't know. It feels like jarring and strange and disquieting and sort of tragic.
What is on Music Box? Is Hero on Music Box?
I don't remember.
Oh God. I mean, I think for me, Butterfly is everything.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my musical proclivities are more towards the soul and the R&B hip hop, and I think
okay.
that's when she really came out as
Yeah,
like
that's
a
true. And
singer.
I hate her first album.
Yeah, that one's boring.
It's
Um,
horrible. It's so boring.
we
It's
can
like
agree
the
on
worst
that.
album ever. So
Yeah. All right, so we agree on that one. What about Ariana? Anything to say there?
I don't know what's going on with her anymore. It seems that too many marriages have fried the brain around my
Mm,
ability to understand her. But my goodness, was she an interesting sort of like cultural moment? I mean, she was a Britney who didn't crack. Like she made it through a very sexualized childhood as a Nickelodeon star and came out with albums with a lot of integrity and backbone and solid pop production. And I like that she's a bitch and everyone hates her and no, like everyone can't stand to be around her. And I like that her hair is so fried that it has
yeah.
to be in a ponytail at all times. Um, and I mean, Break Free. Wow. That's a great song.
Mm, what do you think about her her transracialism or her like her shape shifting between ethnicities?
Whenever people are like, she looks really black, I'm like, does she? Like, I never saw, okay, like she's like getting a tan. She's Italian, isn't she?
Yeah,
Italian people, they get crispy, crunchy. They fry
yeah.
like a fish. I just thought she looked like she got a tan. Okay, and so I guess she did those like songs on Thank You Next when
Hmm.
she was like doing like,
The thing.
yeah, like rap,
Oh, well,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
but whatever. Everyone
I
does
don't
that.
know. I think it's really interesting the whole. I think she is, or if not she, her handlers are intentionally doing the whole transracial vibe because yeah, she's Italian, she's ethnic, naturally she's gonna tan. But no, she did go for the whole black aesthetic because she did. I mean, she was always influenced by R&B singers. Like I
Yeah.
think that's part of her vocal style. But then yeah, like she did do trap. And like there were some photo shoots where they really darkened her skin that she almost looked a little bit like mixed race, black and white. But then, she did it was the Japanese aesthetic in Thank You Next. It was Japanese. It
But she
wasn't.
never looked
Yes,
Japanese.
she did. They did the eyeliner when she was on The Voice. That it looked like, Japanese eyes. That was
Well,
like they said she was Asian fishing.
that's fine by me. By
Yeah.
go ahead. Asian girls try to look white every day of the week. It's crazy. Like these girls in Japan are like getting all sorts of fancy surgeries on their eyes and skin bleaching and all these things like you
Yeah.
know and I think that's fun too. I like a little bit of transgression to the other race. Like I would never try to make myself look more Japanese because I think my foreignness is a attractive quality here. But it's a kind of I mean it is kind of fun to like she's like, oh look, I love Japan so much. Like, I, it's so cute. I want to get a little Japanese tattoo and like sing about it. And like, oh my God, I love it. Like, I like it. I think it's sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a meta commentary on like the fluidity of, dare I say, globo homo, like this
Hmm.
global homogenization. Like we're a monoculture now. Like there are no roots, there's no distinction between cultures. Like now we're just like ethno fluid, like anything, we're all the same now. And I think her shape shifting is just an affirmation of that
I would
fact.
agree with that if she had been emulating Korean women,
Mm,
but she chose Japan, which is wildly out of style right now, and no one likes it.
okay.
So
Interesting. I didn't know
ever,
that. No one likes Japan.
I'm being a little, I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but
Okay.
Japan is definitely not as relevant culturally as Korea is at the moment, and that says a lot to global homo. But there's little Ariana with her ponytail. She's gonna wear a little ballerina dress, and she studied all her hiragana and can say that she loves different kinds of food when she visits here in Japanese. Like I I love her. I love her being into Japan.
Yeah.
Go for it, Queen.
Yeah, and like
Like
I love when people accuse her of cultural appropriation because like I don't think cultural appropriation it doesn't exist because
well,
there are no
especially not for
cultural dis
Japan.
yeah, I mean I don't think there are like under this kind of globalist regime that we're starting to go into, like there are no cultural distinctions. So everything's up for grabs now. Everything's the same, everything's fluid. And that's why I think like, the way that we're treating gender, like it's fluid, you can transition and you can change your pronouns. Like why can't we change our ethnicity or our race? Like everything is being uprooted now, so everything's up for grabs. Like I don't see a big difference, but
I don't either.
yeah.
And I'm not, it just is to me like Japan specifically makes a commodity of its culture. It like turns it, the whole Cool Japan initiative was to basically um trans transform the entire like Japanese cultural will into an easily consumable object for tourists that they have expertly marketed overseas. So you literally cannot appropriate that because they are selling it to you and demanding that you do it. And if you're a foreigner in this country and like you try to get off the beaten path and you're just, traveling here for a few weeks, it's pretty damn tough. It's not easy to really get to the meat of it. So they've done a great sort of neo like Meiji like pre-Meiji restoration like locking of the walls where real Japanese culture is like sealed deep beneath the surface and the easily chewed on one is packaged delightfully as a Disneyland via Kyoto. So
Mm. Well, back to Mariah for a second. Why do they love Mariah in Japan?
oh, it literally confounds me.
They go
My ex
crazy over her.
boyfriend went nuts. He saw her every single time she was in Japan ever.
But what is it? Like
I don't
I don't
know.
see what it is.
No, it really boggles the brain. You know who else they love right now? They love Billie Eilish. They
Oh no.
love Billie Eilish. They
Wow.
live.
Ooh, I'm not there for that. Hmm.
I don't understand. I have it's so mysterious to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mariah?
Yeah, I
Why?
never understood. Because when I went to one of her concerts, I went in New Year's Eve 2010, Madison
Hmm.
Square Garden. She was drunk. Her dress started to fall off. But the vast majority of the audience was black couples, like young middle-aged black couples, old gay men, some random white girls, and then Japanese people.
Hmm.
Very
Have you ever seen the
interesting.
tour footage of her performing here?
Yes, I was actually I bring it up because I was watching an old one last week in Japan and they were going insane in the
They don't
airport.
go crazy at concerts. Like Japanese concerts are like very famously like subdued for the most part,
Yes, I've heard
but
that.
the Mariah concert footage, like these people are like they're having a seizure.
Yeah.
It's great. You know, whatever it is that speaks to their heart about it, glad it's there. I'll ask my boyfriend about this tonight and see if he has any
Mm,
input.
I also know, so Sony Records, or one of the Sony executives, like their office was in Japan when she
Hmm.
was big. So I wonder if just Sony's presence had a role in like
Yeah,
promoting.
because Sony is a Japanese company, so
Yeah, yeah, okay, interesting. Okay, one more singer. There's a lot to say about Gaga, but can we get like yeah, give me some hot take on her. I know there's so many takes, but
okay,
something interesting.
you know, you have to respect it. Is basically like this answers a lot of questions that have been, you know, coming up the whole episode because she was the first person to pounce on the gay scene because she's really come from it when she was performing with Lady Starlight in New York City, like in the
Mhm.
late 2000s. Like she used to like perform at gay clubs and, you know, do that kind of thing. And there is you know, mass market to be found there. And she was one of the first people outside of, you know, faded divas who had no one else to sell to. She was one of the first to really get it, click it together, and make it happen for her. Madonna has always like courted gay affection, but not not in such a, you know, sort of like sinister and cold way. I think she really had admiration and love for gay people because they helped bring her up when she was in New York in the 80s. And in the same way, I think Gaga did too, but she pounced on it in a much different way and immediately came out the gate as like a woman for gay people. And the fact that she exploded in the way she did is a marvel. I think she is fascinating and riveting as a bizarro, freako, cultural accident that
Mhm.
actualized on so many like strange neuroses of the American public mind. And even if the music isn't always perfect, her cultural role is deeply fascinating and she's worth a lot of attention. Chromatica is a nearly perfect album. It sets out to do exactly what it wants to do. It sounds exactly as it's supposed to sound every second. It's doing the, you know, this house like gay voguing, you know, through pop culture, but it sounds much more convincing because you know she's lived it and she's much more like delusional and like not trying to pass herself off as cool on that record.
Mhm.
But Born This Way is a masterpiece. Art pop is fascinating. The Fame is great. The only thing that is objectively unlistenable is Joanne. It's horrid, but everything else is worth a little bit of attention, I think.
Mm, the only album that I really can take seriously is Art Pop.
You can't
Uh,
take any of it seriously, basically.
but
Art
that's
pop is like the
right.
closest, but like
That's yeah.
yeah,
The rest of
she
her,
transcends serious attention. You gotta go two layers up before you can you had to look at it from above. Sign from
yeah.
above.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The first few albums, I don't know, like I think they're interesting, but I just can't take seriously the spiel of like, I'm a freak and I don't fit in, and then Born This Way is like it's just so pandering and
I mean,
sh-
it's pandering, but that
well,
song sounds incredible. And
it does,
the
but again, I'm
production
saying
on
like
it is nuts.
no, it is. It is. It's good music, but again, the whole spiel,
Do
I
you
just
not get your life listening to Marry the Night? Do you not like feel your
oh,
Oh,
I
see, well,
don't
maybe this is what divides a drag queen from everyone else because I hear Marry the Night and I am right there putting my green
interesting.
wig on, doing my lipstick, you know, about to rush forward into the void in the
Interesting.
name of fame, you know, like that's what
I
I'm
I
doing. So,
understand what you're saying. I don't
yeah,
feel that, but like I
that's
get
fine.
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. Yeah, but because I mean, I feel like I'm approaching her work on a very abstract intellectual
Hmm.
level. When I hear that stuff, I'm like, this is not, I don't take you
You're
serious.
not gonna marry the night.
No, I'm
You're
not.
not on the edge of glory.
That's not where I'm at, but I understand. I appreciate it. But I do think art pop is like as social commentary as an intellectual whatever, like it's really people should take it
My
seriously.
art pop could mean anything.
Yes. Yeah, I always love reminding people that aura was burqa
Burqa.
behind
Mm-hmm.
the burqa.
I was just looking at pictures of her performing in burqas yesterday. And I was like, "Oh, work so fierce. This is amazing."
Yeah, that was a time. So Gaga. Okay, so I have a final
Okay,
question, controversial question.
let's do it.
So you've posted some things about like morality, amorality.
Mm.
Well, let me pull this up. You said, what did you said? Where was it? No, no, I can't find it. But basically something along the lines of like you're not aiming to try to like present something that's moral or like
Oh,
uh
I think I know what this tweet was. I might be able to find it myself.
this is really interesting. Yeah, it's not, where was
Okay,
it?
I think. Okay, I think I found the tweet. Is
Yes.
it, quote, I have never been anything less than transparent about my agenda, which is
Yeah.
Foucauldian J-pop art criticism
Yeah.
as a means to manifesting will and converting the world into a sexual orgy swamp to be used for my own personal enjoyment. I have the phrase drag queen in Japan in my Twitter bio, and yet many are still confused as to the fact that I am an amoral creature of
Yeah.
perversion with no interest whatsoever in being pure, godly, or good.
Yeah, tell us about that tweet. Very interesting.
First, well, how about first you tell me what you think about it?
I mean, I have a theory. Well, first I'll say this. Like, I have a fixation with morality, partially because of like the way I was brought up, but also because I studied ethics in my like graduate school work.
Right.
Um, so I think that like mm, everyone who presents or like yeah, everyone who presents themselves as moral or righteous like is ultimately it's performative. And I think at a certain point, to be truly moral, you have to come to terms with the fact that like we are all immoral. And like if I'm going to approach it from a kind of religious perspective, like everyone is born into sin, like everyone's fucked up in some way. The only way to reach true morality is to acknowledge this fact. Everyone who's LARPing as this righteous kind of figure is putting on a show and it's a lie.
Mm,
So I always find interesting when people are able to say, yes, I am immoral or I am amoral, um, acknowledging publicly, like I don't see myself as this like upright, perfect kind of figure, because that I think is the starting point to discovering true or like living true morality.
right. Well, also, I have to say that, a little bit of it is a joke. I do
Yeah,
strive
of
to be a
course.
good person in a
Yeah.
few ways, and um, maybe one or two, but I to me maybe the three most important thinkers in like my philosophical and like literary experiences like Julia Kristeva,
Mhm.
Nietzsche, and Marquis de Sade, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe I would include Foucault in that as well. But basically, like I'm very obsessed with the ecstasies and the joysance of life. I love, passion and extremity and the absolute limits of the human heart. I think it is such an incredible thing that we can observe art and have, linguistic interactions with one another. And those small illusions are powerful enough to physically alter us and bring us to tears and laughter and vomiting and screaming. And I think that is just so wonderful that we have this time on earth to experience things in such extremity. And I have, from the very start of my show, been very committed to, celebrating the gay experience for being one of the last few avenues on this earth for really getting into the meat grinder of it. And drag as sort of a unholy icon and deification of all of those sort of messy and repulsive desires, I think is just so beautiful. And so I love being
Mm.
like a pagan icon of hedonism and a sort of a you know libertine like will to power where like you are going for whatever you want in life and celebrating its excesses and
Hmm.
um where like the Foucault and Kristeva maybe come in a little bit is that like of course I recognize that such extremes have consequences and you have to balance your
Yeah.
life artistically and make a you have to make a craft out of the way you conduct yourself but all the same, I'll be permanently looking for those extremes, and no one can ever stop me because that is what I'm set on, and I have never lied about that.
Yeah, so everything you're saying is confirming all my theories about drag because so like this thing I wrote was published yesterday about the drag queen story hour and like my main thesis is that what's happening with drag queen story hour is again they're trying to turn this art form, this highly symbolic art form, into this kind of neoliberal expressivist kind of thing, which is again very
Hmm.
flat and boring. When in the reality, drag is highlighting that there is this inner tension, this drama in human nature that has the capacity to lead us towards something very decadent, very pagan, very extravagant, possibly dangerous, possibly destructive, but that same energy can lead you towards this ecstatic kind of sacred, holy, other kind of again at the end of the day, it points us to this otherworldly reality, whether it's the subterranean, the heavenly, whatever. Um, and it's interesting that you mentioned Christeva and the kind of ecstatic thing because I refer people very often to the figure of Teresa of Avila and the
Mm,
also the famous Bernini statue because I think she is kind of like the Christianized version of not the version, but like she is the Christianized expression of this kind of Dionysian energy that within human nature that again could lead someone into again a kind of decadent performance art, but also to this um you know, the kind of otherworldly lifestyle of like the convent and of this kind of ecstatic prayer life, this spiritual realm.
mm,
Um, and well, again, when you turn something like drag into this like form of like, oh, you're expressing yourself in diversity, like you're negating the fact that within human nature, there's this tension that leads us to these either one of these extremes. And also, like when people talk about the culture wars, I'm like, yeah, I do think, yeah, as you said, like the kind of decadent pagan ideal can be destructive, it can be dangerous, and we have to be conscious of the ways that it could become whatever, that could lead to a dangerous outcome. But at the same time, like these so-called opposing ideals are not as far apart as we think because they share this
yeah,
common origin. It's fueled by the same energy. It's just a question of like,
that's right.
where is this being channeled? You
Yeah,
know?
Joy-sans and abjection are virtually the same. Like is
Yeah.
basically like the point of Powers of Horror. And you're mentioning that like subterranean realm, and it's such a important part of my worldview and my experience with art. I'm constantly seeking out any sort of, media or music or literature that can in its own private and small way like extract the emotional world into the realized world and
Mhm.
between like stuff like James Joyce and like Ulysses and even like Utada Hikaru, like Kate Bush. I did an episode just about that, but more widely things like Evangelion and Twin Peaks and Polya, like they're all taking this secret emotional universe and summoning it into our own world. And I think that is such a fascinating sort of alchemy that drag queens are particularly good at.
Yeah. Hmm. I do want to press you a little more though on like the
Please.
question of the limits of morality because like I am like I'm interested in like so you're saying like this kind of libertine pagan approach.
Hmm.
Well, for you, where are the limits? Like, where do you place the limits of libertinism, of decadence? At what point does it become something destructive or something, I don't know, harmful, would you say?
Um, I try very much not to hurt people around me. Like, I love a lot of people, and I know that I have people who love me as well.
Hmm.
And any sort of action I could take that could hurt them as well, I think is something I wouldn't want really to do. So, libertinism actually is like you should, in particular, kill your friends, steal their money, and rape them with a wooden dildo is like the whole point of like Juliet, basically. But like, I
Yeah.
would never go that far with like libertinism. And I'm quite all right with sacrificing my own existence and detonating it in the name of passion, but only if the effect on the people who cared about me was marginal and I never ruined any of their lives.
Mm, yeah, I think I wish people read Desaad more because I think he really shows like I think he's the antithesis of this kind of expressivist reading of drag. Like he's showing that there is this yeah, there is this destructive nature within libertinism.
Yeah, and I think he
Yeah.
knows that it's like a negative force. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's quite apocalyptic, and it's very easy to just to read him and be like, oh, like he was just like jacking off, like while he was writing this, like it just like made him horny to imagine people getting pushed into the volcano. But um, the like sheer force of his novels, like especially like Juliet, which is so underread, he absolutely knows that what he's doing is by naming the horror, he's making it sort of like a moral and conscious tool for gauging one's own heart, I think.
Mhm. So, okay, but then like if the ultimate logic of this kind of libertine path is I guess this emphasis on indulgence. And even if we draw certain boundaries so that it doesn't
Mhm.
become violent against others, like what do you make of the opposite extreme of like love to the point of self-abnegation, like this masochism of the self for the sake of the other? Like what do you see in there?
Well, I just talked a little bit about this on an episode I did last week. It was about Oshima Nagisa's In the Realm of the Senses, and we talked a lot about, being consumed by love.
Mhm.
And I think that there is a because masochism isn't actually about a love of another, it's about a deep obsession with the self. I think like
Mhm.
Deleuze like talks about this in Coldness and Cruelty a lot. It's like the act of the masochist is to actually like really deeply violate someone and reform them into a pristine image of the cruel mother, basically,
Mhm.
or the cruel like paternal figure. And I think that there is a sort of love that might exist somewhere where you can, love something else so much that it leads to this self-detonation. But I think in most cases it's actually the opposite, and
Mhm.
people love themselves so much in their own interior experience. So I think it's if someone could love something so much that their life explodes for it, selflessly, I
Mhm.
would think that's beautiful too. But I think it's very rare, don't you?
Mm. I do think it's rare. I do think it is something worth aspiring to, though, because
Sure.
like I do think there's a liberation in it. Like in the same way there's something we perceive this kind of liberation through indulgence or through the decadent kind of path. I think yeah, it's less accessible through like self-abnegating charity, but I think it can be liberating in a very
Yeah,
particular way if
I think so
if you're able to
too.
approach it, you know.
That's why I like North Koreans so much. I love the idea that everyone's like, oh, they're being, held at gunpoint to make those videos, them crying and screaming. I'm like, I don't think so. I think they just like really love him and they're like really
Mm.
upset. And I mean, have you ever seen someone get so passionate about anything before?
No.
No.
Wow.
Even if they're just making a little show of it, that's fierce. Like, good for them. They love something in this world.
Yeah. So this is a lot of food for thought, Zach, a lot to think about.
Very true.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, before we wrap up, would you like to plug anything? I mean, we mentioned your podcast. I'm so popular. What else do we have?
Well, there's my podcast. You can follow me on Twitter, I guess.
Mhm.
I'm like grimacing as I say this. It's twitter.com/Oscar Homo, ASUKA Homo. And then anyone who is in Japan, hello, I'm gonna be performing on October 1st at the Casket of Horrors performance. So you can find the details on my Instagram, which is just Langley Chi Chi.
Awesome. Well, Zach, thank you for this illuminating conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.